Well, now getting Cura on your computer is a pretty big step. What I've done here is I've Googled Cura. Now the top link will take you directly to the web page on Ultimaker's website. Cura is made by a company called Ultimaker. They make 3D printers, and they'd love to sell you a 3D printer with it. I click download for free. I have already installed it. Now the first time I open up Cura, it says welcome to Ultimaker Cura. And I'm going to go through the disclaimer with you just to help you see what it could look like. So it's going to collect anonymous information. So it's more complicated to add a networked printer. We're just going to do non-networked. We're going to do the G-code thing. If you're adding a network printer, what's happening is your computer is going to be physically running that computer. You'll have running that 3D printer. You'll have a USB connection that has the computer control the printer. And in my experience, it's a hassle. These printers are made to have G-code files that they follow, and that is what works best for me. Now here are all the 3D printers that it supports. And the two that I have in my space is called the Ender 3 or the Monoprice Select. So I think I'll add the Ender 3 so I need to find Ender. Ender 3 is made by Creality 3D. So Creality 3D, it's got all of their current models here. Creality Ender 3. The printer name is going to be Ender 3 next. Now, taking a look at the interface, what you have here is this is where you open files up. We'll do that in the next video. This is the printer that you have selected. So if we add more printers, you'll need to switch between them here. A printer will try to print the G-code to a different printer, and so it doesn't like that. Here is the generic nozzle size, 0.04 millimeters. If you change this, it will remember what size you put in here. And now here are all the options on this side. So this is how high of a step it's going to take for each layer. So a 3D printer, it's laying down a layer. If I'm doing my cube, it'll lay down a layer, and then it'll move up to the next layer. And right here is what you're deciding how big of a jump you're taking. Infill percentage, this is how much of an infill you want. So if I'm making a cube, once again, if I put it at 100%, that means it'll be one solid cube. That would take a lot of filament. It will take a long time to print. The default is set at 20%. You can take it below that. Support, we'll talk about in a separate video. And adhesion is very important. We'll talk about that in a separate video. So you're going to want to get to know the interface of your Cura program. Up here are the tabs: prepare, preview, monitor. What you need to do to get your first project in here is go to Tinkercad, and within Tinkercad what you need to do is take a look at the project you're printing. If you've had a student design a project, oftentimes they won't realize that if things aren't touching, they won't be connected in any way. And so they'll design something with pieces that are close together. They can be very, very close together, but the printer will not connect them unless they're connected somehow. So because I want this logo to be all connected and not fall apart when I'm done, I'm going to put this block beneath it. If you're not familiar with how to use Tinkercad, there is an entire other course on that. So there is a square beneath it. I'm just going to center it really quickly. Now that this is perfectly centered, so that these little extra pieces will be connected to something. I'm going to go to export. You don't want to click send to. If you click send to, what you can do is download a screenshot, which I've had students do, or you can send it to other places. What's better is the export button here. When you click export, you have options: OBJ files, STL files, or Gerbil files. You can even get this to export SVG files, which is great for laser cutting. But what we want is the STL file. The STL file, when you click on that spot, it'll think for a moment, and then it'll download that STL file. Back here in Cura, I'm going into this folder. I'm going to find that file that I just downloaded. And it just brought it into Cura for me. So this file is the exact same size that I had it set to be in Tinkercad. So when I was creating this box, I wasn't being careful. I set this at 226 millimeters by 243 millimeters. Well, that's how big this is in this physical space. If you need to scale it down, and I do need to scale it down, that would be this tool here. You can click and drag to scale, but oftentimes I'll just type in the number that I want. 75%. Now that I need to move it onto the center of the bed, so I'm going to go to the move button here. You can click and drag it. If you right click, you can center it on the bed. There is also rotate, so you can rotate it in this direction. The red obviously rotates it in this direction. If you make a mistake, hit Control Z. I will end up sizing and packing student projects onto one 3D printing bed. This will mirror it. So if you want to, if you have a 3D designed hand and you want to make a mirror image of that, that would be this button. This will duplicate your project. Excuse me. If you want to duplicate your project, you need to right click and go to multiply. Now that I have this set the way I have it, I'm going to click slice. What it's doing is it's creating those G-code layers. Bottom layer, what's the second layer look like, what's the third layer look like. Usually takes a while, but now we're going to go through the basic settings that are here. Now this is, an Ender 3 is pretty big. This is going to take 17 hours to print and take 140 grams of filament. Just to show you, we're in the prepare. Well, now we can go to preview. And what this will do is it'll actually read the G-code and show you what each layer will look like. So we have 97 layers here. You can see the 97 up at the top. If we start pulling that down, we can see what we have set. That's what the first layer looks like. That's what layer 12 looks like. The top of the box comes on layer 19, and then it's building up from there. That would be the preview material.